Hi everybody, welcome and thank you for joining me today. This video was basically unplanned because I needed to take a day to turn my mattress, do washing, the usual housekeeping nonsense. But so much has happened that I really just need to acknowledge it. We can go into it a lot deeper tomorrow or whenever. Okay, now first thing. I guess some of you watched the Pope's funeral. I didn't. I just honestly did not have the time. But I did watch a few clips, and I have to mention how proud I felt of William. I just wish he would shave his beard. But that is personal preference and has nothing to do with him attending the funeral. I'm no body language expert, but I think I read a few things in him today. He's definitely gaining confidence. It is also clear that somehow he is becoming a wonderful diplomat and in a way further and further removed from the sort of strict decorum, learned and soft yet faked diplomacy of the royals. The Queen had a natural ability to steer clear of political and social pitfalls, but sometimes the strict protocol of the royals made even her look like she was doing a job and not 100% acting in a natural, plain human way. William, however, is doing everything he should do, adhering to protocol, but with a type of natural empathy and sincerity which his mother had. I do not know whether he is receiving training of some sort or whether his demeanor is actually coming naturally. William is clearly more intelligent than his father, and maybe when it comes down to pure just brain power, maybe even more intelligent than his grandmother. But it is also clear that the Queen had a tremendous influence on him. Obviously, he doesn't and likely never will have the experience which the Queen had, because she grew up so close to the regal life of a monarch, and William had a completely different childhood experiences. But only time will tell how successful a monarch he will turn out to be. But in the meantime, he's a wonderful diplomat, and him and his wife are, in my opinion, the jewels in the British crown. I don't think William is necessarily eager to become king. On the contrary, I think that being a king of the United Kingdom and Commonwealth realm countries is actually the last thing he wants to be or do. I think in a way he feels that he will be somewhat restricted by the role, but he will accept it with grace and we'll see how it goes. I see online that some people are asking why William is sitting in the second row and Trump in the third. Why is William behind Charlene of Monaco? Well, it is simple, really. The royal house of Monaco is indeed Catholic. Catholic royals are in the first row, non-Catholic royals in the second row, and politicians in the third, and so on and so on. Pope Francis is barely cold, and I see there's already speculation as to who the next pope will be. There are two black candidates, one from Ghana and one from Guinea. Now, I'm not Catholic, but I read up about the candidates, and my personal favorites, one for his staunch belief and the other for his intellect, are Pier Battista Pizzaballa and Mario Gresh. But we'll see. Whoever it turns out to be, I wish him luck. Okay, now let's deal with the elephant in the room, Virginia Guiffre. Yes, apparently Virginia was found deceased in her home on her farm in Australia. Currently, there's no reason to believe that there were any foul play, and according to her family, she indeed did this to herself. I've spoken about this before. Love me or hate me for it, but I've never, not even as a child or a teenager, made someone a saint just because he or she passed away. If a bad guy or gal had received forgiveness from God just before his or her death, then that is between him and his or her God. I'm human and I'm mortal, and your soul is indeed none of my business. Nobody, Virginia included, needs to or deserves to feel so terrible, so hopeless that they do not want to live anymore. I know what it feels like, been there, and it is something one can never make anyone else understand. And for that, my heart cries for Virginia, and may God have mercy on her soul, and may she now find the happiness and peace she had been searching for all her life. And I mean it, 100%. And while we are on this subject, please, my friends, it is hard to find yourself in that particular place, even harder to get out of it. But look yourself in the mirror and say, I love myself. And then you go out and love something else. Go feed the birds, go feed stray dogs, go play a board game with some of the old people in a local old age home. Love yourself and love something or someone else, and your heart will become lighter. Or if nothing works, seek help. I'm not ashamed to say that I'm back on medication for depression and have been now for months. But you know what? Instead of being ashamed, I'm proud of myself for having gone out and actually getting help, for admitting to a professional that I'm stressed and depressed. Anyway, let's move on. I have no idea where my irritation with mainstream media actually started or where it came from. And then sometimes I also get so angry at some presenters and creators when I know they are talking shite. And I know they are talking bull. But they do it anyway, just for that check at the end of the month. So Virginia, love or hate her, she is no more. And regardless of what her family are saying, there is now a full investigation into her death. Yet, open any newspaper and you will see Prince Andrew accuser dead or Jeffrey Epstein victim dead. No, Virginia Guiffre, 41, has died. You know, life does not revolve around Harry and Meghan, and nor does it revolve around the royal family. Virginia had other problems in her life, over and above her past. Her husband of more than 20 years had taken their children and left. He did not even want her to see their children. Now the question is, why not? He has known for many, many years what Virginia had done, where she had been. So why, after 20 years, did he take such a radical step? The supposed accident with a bus, remember a couple of weeks ago? Remember Virginia Guiffre saying she only has 4 days left to live and photographing herself with bruises all over her face. And later it transpired that half of it, if not more, was indeed makeup. Well, Virginia was hoping that if she put something as dire as that out there, that her husband and children would come running. But they didn't. Again, why not? Well, look, whatever it was obviously rather serious for a man to do that after so many years. I said it quite a while ago. I think it was in a video on my other channel. I'm not sure. Virginia made a huge mistake pursuing the Epstein matter for as long as she did. She should have stopped when she had her own children. You cannot help anyone unless you help yourself first, and Virginia did not do that. She left the children at home with her husband for weeks and even months on end, while she pursued the one lawsuit after the other, the one appearance or interview after the other, and all of it for money. People tend to forget is that out there, while Virginia were giving interviews and was filmed and photographed, her children had to go on with their lives and face their teachers, their friends, and their peers out in the real world. Do you for 1 minute think that her children did not hear things like, your mom is a she slept with men for money? You would be very naive if you think that. Of course the children said that. Of course it was discussed, and very likely someone, maybe a husband, a priest, a friend, a psychiatrist, told her to stop it. Stop putting yourself out there. People will forget. Save your children the embarrassment. But did she listen? No, she kept going back for more and more and more. I'm sure it's not all of it, because her husband and children shared in the spoils of her battle. But at some point, I think, particularly as her children became older, that her clinging to her past and using her past as a cash cow became too much for her family. In a way, she was prostituting herself all over again. We don't really know what went on behind closed doors. This is just, remember, my partial reading on the situation. However, for the media to even suggest we lay her demise in front of Prince Andrew's door is really grabbing shit out of the air. None of us ever do anything to someone else and preempt or spend hours weighing up how our deeds or words will affect another person. None of us were fitted with 2020 vision into the future. So what Andrew did or did not do, I feel, has little to no bearing on what happened. Andrew had already lost everything because of his friendship with Epstein and because of Virginia Guiffre's accusations. He has nothing to lose or gain as a result of her death. I personally had been a little bilious when thinking of Andrew, a man in his late 40s, with a girl like Virginia at the time. But as I have explained at length in another video, even if he did what they say he did, he still did nothing illegal. And more than that, every lawyer I consulted said the same thing. If the case against Andrew had gone ahead, Andrew would have won and Virginia lost. And why? Because Virginia Guiffre could not produce the original photograph on which the whole entire case was hinged. I think if the Queen had not been that sick, he would have fought it and won. And that, my dear friends, would have had nothing to do with whether he did or he didn't do what he was accused of. It would have been just based on the evidence that wasn't and couldn't be provided. Andrew had always denied sexual involvement with Virginia Guiffre, but he couldn't deny his involvement with Epstein. And when he settled, it made him look guilty, whether he was or he wasn't. Anyway, my dear friends, I'm going to leave this here for now. We'll keep an eye on the news and we'll discuss this further as time passes. In the meantime, I extend my sincere condolences to her family and in particular her 3 children. May she truly rest in peace, and may everyone else involved in this sordid mess now also heal a little and find peace. I'll be back with more royal talk and discussions. So until then, please take good care of yourselves. Bye.